YouTube, what is up, everybody? Just got up. As you can tell by my voice and eyes, probably. It's about 9 o'clock now. I got up about 8:30. Was just laying in bed for a while, checking things on my phone. I already had lined up what video I was going to do today. Today is going to be me cooking breakfast. Sounds good, I know. And we're going to go over protein requirements for different types of athletes. That's a question that I get asked a lot just from friends and other people who work out, and also a question you see all the time online. It's a huge debate. Everybody has sort of their own theory about it. There's a lot of bro science around this, but there are actual recommendations based off of some science. Yeah, who listens to that anymore though, right? So let's jump into breakfast first, and then we'll move into the protein. All right, so I am a huge fan of eggs in the morning. I love eggs. I know I mentioned in the last video, but I eat about anywhere from 3 to 5 a day. So I got 4 in this package left right now. There's another thing of 12 in the fridge, but I'm just gonna eat these 4. As far as seasonings go, guys, again, everyone has their own preference. I'm a very no-nonsense, basic kind of guy. Throw a little bit of olive oil in the skillet, all right? And then salt and pepper that's all I need, all right? I mean, I got a pantry full of, garlic powder, Old Bay, Italian, there's some Montreal steak seasoning. I have a lot of other stuff, but to me, salt and pepper has just always been there for me. Good old salt and pepper. I'm also super basic with breakfast in general. Not only do I love having my eggs in the morning, but I also love my coffee. My nice Joker mug there. Oh yeah. Got that at like a Halloween store like over a year ago. Let my pan warm up here. Go ahead and throw the olive oil in now. As far as like my meals go, as far as macronutrients, just throw a little bit in the pan there. I know I've talked a little bit about this before. And as far as like the macros with each meal, a lot of people are gonna ask, when do you do your higher carb meals, or when do you get the most of your protein in? Are you low fat? It varies. I try to eat similar things every day, but it's always gonna vary. And everybody's bodies respond differently, and they know how that works. So for example, I know that I do best when I don't really have carbs in my first meal of the day. Anytime, I love eating high carb breakfast. I mean, hash browns, potatoes, oatmeal, toast, stuff like that. Like, I love eating heavy carb meals. I just don't feel very good. My body does not respond very well to carbs first thing in the morning. So usually I will pretty much, I'm stirring my oil here. I'll usually pretty much stick to only protein and a little bit of fat in the morning. That will usually look like, again, like 3 to 5 eggs, depending on what my other food is. If I'm only eating eggs, I'll do all 5. But I like doing like steak and eggs, so I'll do like a small, like 6-8 ounce steak, and then like 3 or 4 eggs. All right. So yeah, that's a lot of protein. Obviously, if you're someone out there who's vegetarian, vegan, or trying to limit their meat intake, that's not ideal. I'm really just trying to convey the fact that, my body responds best when I'm pretty much all protein first thing in the morning. Protein, lots of water. My first carbs won't be until later in the day before I work out. Now, if I work out in the morning, I'll probably throw a little bit of carbs in with my breakfast, because I'm not doing keto or anything right now. I'm not really low carb. Right now, I'm getting ballpark like 250 grams of carbs a day, which is low for most people when you talk about like strength training or something. I'm just, I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight, and for me the way to do that is to cut down my carb intake. So really just trying to hit protein right now. And again, like I had mentioned, this is my first couple weeks back in the gym after taking a few off. So gym is going great. I'm hitting strides. I think it's time to throw our eggs in now. Right, so because I have yet to become a master chef, I had to use both hands to crack my eggs. I really lay the pepper on pretty heavy. All right. I'm also pretty no nonsense with how I make my eggs, guys. Scrambled is fine with me. Typically, it turns into scrambled eggs if the over easy doesn't work out very well. So I usually do like over medium or sometimes even over hard. But I also don't really like burning them, so I don't, risk it too much. Throw a little bit of salt. I'm not very picky about my salt intake because I'll be honest, I don't really, in the actual like food I eat, whether it's packaged or non-packaged, there's not really a lot of salt in foods in my diet. So in turn, I don't really regulate or pay a ridiculous amount of attention to the amount of table salt I use. I would not say that I overdo it by any means. I don't sit there and measure out my table salt because, to be honest, I don't really eat a lot to begin with, so it kind of works out. I don't really have to worry about it that much. And obviously, if you're having, blood pressure issues or some heart health issues, clearly sodium intake is something to watch. That's just not really, again, not really anything I have today had issues with. Now, these are sticking a little bit. Usually they don't stick too bad once I put the oil in. Again, like I said, this is not very pretty. I'm just trying to flip them here. Set this off to the side. See how the coffee is. Probably still too hot. That's not bad. Right, so the eggs are a-cooking. I'm gonna do the 4 eggs, and then now I'm gonna get out one of the small steaks I have. I made a bunch a few days ago, and they're still good, so I'm gonna grab one of those now. All right, definitely should have grabbed the bigger plate. That's okay though. So we got coffee, the water. I will have probably multiple glasses like that, probably 3 or 4 of water. And then I got the steak. Like I said, that steak is, I don't know, 6-ish ounces. And then the 4 eggs. So I'm gonna wolf this down real quick, and then we will talk about some protein. All right, what is going on, everybody? It is the second half of this video. You watched me making my steak and eggs downstairs, and now we're gonna go over sort of the protein requirements for different types of athletes, and some of the maybe misconceptions you've heard about protein and how much you should be eating and in what form. So credibility for this information, I've done a little bit of research on my own. I'm a semester away from being a minor in nutrition. I've taken sports performance nutrition for athletes, nutrient metabolism courses. So I know, I would say, a little bit in this field, or at least how most of the things work. And I've also done research on my own as far as protein. Now, like I said before in the first half of the video, please keep in mind that the information I'm telling you is recommended by organizations like ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine. It's more from a health and performance perspective. So, for example, so we'll start off with this. A lot of people will tell you that you have to eat 2 grams or 1 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. You have to. Some people even eat more than that. I knew a guy once who would eat like 400 to 500 grams of protein a day, which, to me personally is a lot. That's hard and expensive to eat. Maybe not if you're eating meat and, whey protein, but that's still a lot. So I'm just here to tell you some of the knowledge that we know now from research we have done. You can take this or leave this. You can, believe it or not believe it. This is just what I've learned, so I'm sharing it with you. So as far as from a health perspective, if you start to go over 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So everything in the medical community as far as studies and stuff goes is typically done in kilograms because it's used by more of the world, so it's better interpreted. So your pounds divided by 2.2. So for the sake of today, we'll just say divided by 2. That would probably be the easiest thing. So I'm about 95 kilograms. So we're just going to say 100 kilograms just for basic math for today. So that pretty much means once you start to go over that 2 grams per kilogram, so once I start to eat over 200 grams of protein per day, that's when you're starting to look at potential issues. Now, by potential issues, I'm more referring to potential dehydration, kidney function impairment, maybe some issues with liver function. You definitely have an increased risk of kidney stones. Now, when I say kidney function impairment, that doesn't mean your kidneys are going to stop working. Okay, this just means it's not optimal. Now, on a day-to-day basis, that might not mean a whole lot to you personally, but you have to understand that if you were to do that for 10 years, 5, 10, 15 years, that's when you're looking at some more detrimental impacts. So definitely, again, take this with a grain of salt. This is just what the research has shown is that negative effects begin to occur or present after that 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you're about, if you're like me, if you're 205, 210, 215 pounds, once you start to get over 200 grams of protein a day, that's when you can maybe start to see some of those things. And again, not it's not like you're going to wake up the next day and you only have 1 kidney. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's when you need to be mindful of it. It's also been shown that once you go over that, okay, that 2 to 2.5, even 3 grams of protein per kilogram. There have actually been studies done with high amounts of protein, up around 3 grams per kilogram of body weight. And that shows that there's really no increased benefit past that. Okay, so the guy who ate 3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight and the guy who ate 2, there wasn't really a significant difference between them to justify that 3 grams per kilogram of body weight. So that's the message I'm conveying right now from a health perspective, all right? So, divide your body weight in pounds by 2.2, that's your kilograms. I would not go over 2 grams per kilogram past that. There's really no reason to. Most people don't even need that much. The general recommendation for strength training athletes is 1.6 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight. So let me pull out the calculator here. So let's say you're 200 pounds. All right, 200 pounds divided by 2.2. That's 91 kilograms. All right. So if I'm 91 kilograms times 1.6, that's 145. So 145 to 155 grams of protein per day if you're a 200-pound person, and your strength training is what you want to be looking at, okay? Now, I would say that if you are on maybe if you're on the elite level, then you're probably going to be past that, up towards that 2 grams per kilogram. And also another thing is these recommendations are for general population subsets. So if you are a general population member like me who strength trains, the recommendation for me is 1.6 to 1.7, all right? Obviously, that might differ a little bit once you get up to the elite level. We're not here to talk about that. We're just talking about generalizations. Endurance is lower than that. I believe the endurance athlete is 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kilogram of body weight. So strength athletes definitely recommended more. The protein is more important as far as, for muscle repair and recovery. So, just to recap a little bit, like I was saying before, these people who are telling you that you need, double your body weight in protein, I'd be eating like 400 grams of protein a day, all right? Not only could my digestive system probably not handle that, but my wallet and my time probably couldn't either, okay? So the reality of it is, guys, the majority of the population, the majority of you don't need that much protein, okay? So don't get distracted by people who are telling you that, especially, a lot of times people are struggling to make progress and somebody gives them this idea that's a little outlandish, but it sounds just good enough to where it might help them break through a plateau. Don't resort to that. Do your research. Obviously, we're here to become better versions of ourselves, but we're here to attempt to stay healthy. And I think a lot of times in the realm of sports and performance, health tends to get lost in that field, And again, like I said, if you're an elite athlete, your requirements might be a little bit higher. But I'm assuming the majority of you are, recreational gym goers. And obviously, I'm not saying by any means don't try to, operate at peak performance or anything. Just keep in mind your body and the health of your body as well. Especially if you are, again, prone to like kidney stones, liver issues. If you're easily dehydrated, high crazy amounts of protein will do that. Those are the recommendations for protein as far as your health and performance go. Those are recommendations by the medical community. Obviously, there is some controversy between that as far as medical community versus performance athletes, because that does tend to clash a little bit. And like I said, that's the majority of that reason is because as we focus on performance, general health tends to take a dive. And that's simply because a lot of times when you get into that elite level, and people are willing to do anything to get bigger, faster, and stronger, it tends to be detrimental to our body. Okay, it's the same thing. It's the same way with everything. Okay, running is good for most people. Okay, but there have been people that say necessarily running ultra marathons is detrimental, and it is. You're taking something. I'm not saying don't do ultra marathons. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm not going to take that away from you. But you're taking running, 10 to 15 miles a week, something that's probably overall good for your body. There's impact resistance for your bones and your joints. So unless you have previous issues, that's probably a good idea. Okay, but running these like 100-mile races, there's a point. Okay, there's gray areas, and then there's a line where it's like, okay, we're now dipping into the realm of being unhealthy and most likely doing more harm than good to your body. So that's really all this is about, is just, and this was only about protein. We haven't talked about carbs or fat, but just look at what you're eating and look at the realistic recommendations. So I would definitely not go over that 2 grams per kilogram. If you want to make it easier, that's probably 1 gram per pound of body weight ish. There's really no reason for the majority of us to go over that. So just keep that in mind. I'm sure if some of you have friends that have told you otherwise, they'll give you crap over it. But that's, we're trying to stay healthy too, guys. All right. So that was a nice little talk on protein, as well as my breakfast this morning, guys. I'll try to get out some more videos this week, and I will catch you all later.